Hi, my name is Ngozi Onuoha. I'm a physician and health educator and content creator. My brand is Health for Naija. I created this brand to educate about health and more. Today, I want to discuss financial literacy. And let's talk about ROI, which means return on investment. I'm sure you've heard this before. What's your ROI? And didn't know what it meant. Let's also talk about how to avoid financial ruin. People can get themselves into a financial mess because they cannot afford what they like. So they find shiny objects and they want shiny objects, but they cannot afford these shiny objects. And so they push through and manage and they squeeze and then they buy these shiny objects. So shiny objects could be a house that a person can't afford. It could be a car that they can't afford. It could be clothes they can't afford, or gadgets, or even travel trips, holidays, or dining experiences they can't afford. So basically a lot of things that people cannot afford, things they want rather than things they need. So they push through and they squeeze from other essential areas. They may not be feeding their investments or feeding their stocks or feeding their real estate portfolios. You may say, well, how can I afford to buy real estate? I don't have anything. But there's crowdfunding and there are programs out there like Fundrise. Those are affordable ways to invest in a crowd. So instead of investing in things that have yield, they gravitate towards shiny objects. And shiny objects, they are shiny. They have such a pull. People have this fear of missing out because they don't have a shiny object. They have to have a shiny object because someone else has this and they want to belong, or they have this fear of missing out and they don't want to miss out. So they get pulled towards a shiny object. Now, the consequence of buying into shiny objects is that people can't afford them in the long run, so they end up losing these shiny objects because they cannot afford the upkeep. Say they buy a house that's too expensive, they can't afford the upkeep of the house, or they buy a car that's extremely expensive, the spare parts are expensive, the maintenance is expensive, so they end up not being able to maintain the car or the house that they bought, and then they end up losing those objects. So I call them shiny objects because they're objects that maybe people can't afford. So rather than invest in tangible assets, so assets that have yield, they're investing in shiny objects that don't have any return on investment. So let's go back to what I mentioned about what return on investment is and how to calculate it. So the calculation of return on investment, which is ROI, you hear that a lot, is the final value of what you have. What's the cost if you were to sell it now minus the initial cost, so what you paid for it. So you subtract the initial cost from the final value and you divide it by the initial cost and then multiply by 100. You get a percentage. That is the return on investment. So let's give you an example. We'll do a simple calculation here. So let's say you buy a dress for $50 and you decide to sell the dress, and the dress you sell it on eBay, and like a dress, you won it, you washed it, so of course the value goes down. So let's do the math, and you sell it for $25. So your return on investment, the final value is $25 and you paid $50. So 25 minus 50 divided by 50, which was the initial cost, times 100. So you see from this calculation, you're already at minus 50%. You can see the return on investment on this particular asset is negative because you spent a lot more on the asset than you're getting when you sell the asset on eBay. So The calculation of return on investment is the final value of the investment minus the initial value, which is what you paid for it, divided by the initial value times 100%. So that is how you calculate your return on investment. So to avoid financial ruin, you basically need to understand your financial capacity and look at an item and say, okay, what is my return on investment? If I bought this item now and I need to sell it, what am I going to gain? So if you don't have that discipline, avoid the stores, the shopping. If you don't have a need, you have to separate your needs from your wants. So when you do that, you get a clear idea of what you should be spending on and how you should be investing. So basically, if you stay in your lane, focus on where you get the most bang for your buck, focus on investments that will give you a positive return on your investment. So that way you avoid financial ruin because you're not attracted by shiny objects that don't have any return on investment. And why do people gravitate towards shiny objects? Because they want to belong. It's the fear of missing out. We're seeing this a lot, especially on social media, and we're following people and we're looking at what people are doing, and we get into a mess because we live above our means. So understanding and separating your needs and your wants, understanding your return on investment, getting comfortable with that calculation and using it often, it will keep you in the right track. So this is financial literacy content, and thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please share with your friends, and most importantly, give a thumbs up and give a nice comment. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye for now.